For those of you who don't know, the mid-20s showed a huge advancement in the American film industry, and by advancement, I mean it pretty much exploded. By this point, studios were no longer just the cronies covering the production of a feature, they were straight up the dons of Hollywood, and their toes were firmly dipped into every part of the film industry. Within Hollywood, there were 8 major studios. Out of these 8, MGM, Paramount, Fox, Warner Brothers, and RKO were referred to as the Big Five, while the other studios, Universal, United Artists, and Columbia, were referred to as the Little Three. Big Five dominated Hollywood with an iron fist, because essentially, you weren't just watching any old movie, you were watching a Paramount movie. You what? Hitchcock's making a new picture with Warner? Sign me the hell up. Wait, MGM's got Gene Kellyanne for the stare. Sign me up, you know fella, they can dance. Oh, you want to go see the new James Bond? Dr. No. Sure, go right ahead. Psych! All we've got here is Jumbo and Zots.
Zots? What's Zots?
What I'm basically trying to say is that at one point, seeing a company logo would indicate whether or not the quality of the film you were watching was of a high standard. You want to feel secure, know that you left the enjoyment of your evening in the hands of a studio that strives in delivering only the finest and most engaging entertainment, only to be greeted by the studio who brought you f***ing Zots.
Zots all!
I'll get you, bitch!
Years go by and the industry starts to shift again. Both RKO and MGM drop out of the rat race, leaving Universal, Columbia, and newcomer Disney to take over in their place, transforming the Big Five into the Big Six. Not to be confused with the Big Sick, starring Kumail Nanjiani. However, by this point, studio appeal had pretty much been taken over by star appeal. People weren't piling outside cinemas to watch the new Warner picture. They were all talking about the new Brad Pitt movie, the new Tom Hanks movie, Spielberg, Scorsese, Mel Gibson. Well, not so much the last one. Star appeal had always pretty much been a thing, but now it well and truly sold your picture. So, what did that mean for this? Well, everyone's familiar with the logo sequence. It's that 5 to 10 seconds at the beginning of the film where the movie studio basically says, "Hiya, it's us again. Sorry Mark Wahlberg blinded a Vietnamese lad in the 90s. Here's Transformers." The logo sequence can seem very familiar and comfortable, kind of like your Nan's house on Christmas, but it can also seem very lazy and outdated, sort of like your granddad's racist jokes on Christmas. If only there was a way to improve on the old format by adding character and charm and a bit of uniqueness onto the film itself. This is where we introduce the logo variant. Logo variants are an extremely overlooked and pretty much underappreciated commodity within the film industry, because essentially, you're not really aware of whether or not the film you're stuck on is bold and brass or belongs in the trash. In essence, a company logo could be one of two things. It could be the shortest but most effective advertisement for a movie that you've already paid for, or it could just be a corporate reminder of the fact that you paid a portion of your wage just so you could watch an unpirated copy of Rugrats Go Wild. I mean, technically, it's both, but that doesn't really matter, to be honest, because the amount of creativity that can be processed in such a short amount of time astounds me. So why companies take this concept and completely mess it up boggles my mind. Whether it's just blatant laziness or just straight up care shit. Logo variants are the unloved middle child of the film industry. I'll be discussing not only their hidden potential, but also where they need to improve. However, I'm only going to be covering variants from the Big Six. That's just so the video doesn't seep into the 1 hour mark. And where better to start off than the great green alpines themselves,
Green Acres is the place to be.
Right off the bat, I just gotta say, Paramount, you're slacking. You're slacking. I mean, don't get me wrong, everything about the original logo is pretty much perfect, but come on, there's only so many times you can show me the same mountain before I want to f***ing jump off it. Personally, I believe that the ball started to roll at the dawn of the 80s with the release of Popeye, even though the film itself is embarrassing, and not just that, embarrassing for those who were involved as well. I do think the intro is pretty spot on though. It does a brilliant job at reimagining the original openings that were played before the original Popeye shorts, and actually features the original voice of Popeye, Jack Mercer, in his last performance as Popeye.
Hey, What's this? One of Bluto's tricks? I'm in the wrong movie.
Now, you know how I said that this was the opening that got the ball rolling? Well, I lied. The ball got kicked into next door's garden. Now, Paramount may not be aware. Well, I'm guessing they're not aware because they keep doing it, but panning over and around the mountain doesn't make you cool. If I'm being honest, I shouldn't be so harsh on Paramount, because they aren't the only ones doing it. But to be frank, they are the worst offenders. It's like, ooh, let's zoom over the mountain. Ooh, let's zoom around the mountain. Let's zoom into the mountain. Let's follow the stars and the... Actually, can we talk about the stars a minute? So, around 2002, Paramount changed the approach of how the viewer actually arrives at the mountain. Originally, the camera would just slowly pan forward, while the ribbon of stars would slowly arch over the mountain. But now, instead, we follow through the perspective of the stars as we fly through the cloudy sky, loop around the Paramount logo, and eventually plonk ourselves on top of the mountain. It was pretty sweet, but it didn't really change the logo all that much. However, this new alteration helped pave the way for a new and exciting way for creators to break the mold and help shift the original logo to be more than... Yeah, no. They just changed the stars. You got the Transformer stars that go boom. You got M. Night Shyamalan throwing the tears of Avatar fans who went to go see The Last Airbender. You got super edgy Ninja Turtle Michael Bay stars that go boom. You got Sonic Peach Rings. Use code BARB for 20% off your next order. And if you're not a fan of that, they'll just throw shit at you. As pretty as some of these might be, they're pretty much tone deaf. You're adding next to nothing to the film. There's no real charm here. You're basically just replacing one shiny object with another shiny object. But it's like I said earlier, it's just studios performing at their absolute laziest. Paramount have shown in the past that they have countless amounts of potential. For example, you have the beautiful shower of buttons for Old Man Baby Benjamin Button. Or you have the little, yellow, different approach that Watchmen took with its minimalist opening. It's really, to be honest, it's just a shame that some of the finest works that have been produced are overshadowed by soulless and formulaic schlock.
Bada bing, bada boom, Mr. Worldwide as I step in the room.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, and some of you may disagree, but the Universal logo is downright the best within the entire industry without a reasonable doubt. Let me explain why. Actually, I don't even need to explain why. The slow pan of the globe, check. The Colossus Universal font emerging from the horizon, check. The shimmering lights filling the globe, continent to continent, check. All this on top of the heroic and angelic fanfare that feels as though you're about to fight Hades after training with Danny DeVito to win the heart of Mega Lion. Universal are telling you from the get-go, we are the best that ever was and ever will be. Which sucks because the logos are so f***ing jank. There are a couple diamonds in the rut, but come on Universal. You already set the groundwork for what a great logo needs to be, so why are your variants so horrendously vanilla? There is one glaring issue with the Universal variant, and that would be the infamous match cut. A match cut is a transition that uses sound and image from one scene to fluidly transport you to the next. Examples of this would be Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and basically anything by Edgar Wright. Now you think this would be a neat concept, transitioning the film logo into the actual film, leaving countless amounts of opportunities for the studio to get creative. Well, I don't think Universal got the memo. Alright guys, some of the lineups looking pretty exciting this year, but we want to spruce up our logos a bit, just to show people how excited we are. Alright, Universal, you're up first. Alright, so I had this idea where we take the globe, and instead of it being a globe, it's actually a baseball. Okay, a bit simplistic, but we can work with it, you know. What else we got then? Go on. Okay, so what if we took the globe, and just when you thought it was a globe, it turns into a silver globe, and then it turns into a rim like from a car, because the film's about cars. Okay, again, bit simple. Laying a bit on the fact that, you've got a globe, but we can work around that, that's fine. What else we got then? Okay guys, get this then. What if we took the globe, and then, when you think it's gonna be a normal globe, it turns into a gold globe, and so it's a golden globe. Alright, listen Universal. I understand that the globe is your whole identity. It's your brand. It's what people know you for. Some of your ideas aren't even bad, but it's basically just the same shit. There's so much you can do with your logo other than just changing one ball-shaped object to another ball-shaped object. You can reanimate the logo, or maybe even change your style to suit the themes of the film. You could even tinker with your fanfare. When I see your logo, I think of the great times I experienced watching your films as a kid, but I also can't help but think that you could be doing so much more with the amount of talent you have behind your studio. Now please, do you have any creative contributions towards this summer's lineup? What if the globe was an egg? Alright, off. Paramount, what have you got? Yeah, I was thinking, what if the mountain there turned into a bigger mountain, Yeah, there's not really much I can say on this topic that hasn't already been said for a Minions cringe compilation, so let's move on.
God bless the USA. God bless.
I've been pretty much shitting on all the companies that have came up so far, and I know what you're thinking, and it's not true. I'm an optimistic guy, and I've got to say, Columbia does what 90% of the film industry don't. Columbia seems to have mastered in the art of variants, managing to capture the unique stylings of the films they are fronting. Whether that be through horror or humour, they do this while tarnishing the integrity of the company itself. One way in which they do this is through the character variant. Now this isn't just having the chipmunks sing in front of your logo, it's actually having the characters interact with the logo itself. For instance, we have Columbia, which by the way, that's their name if you didn't know already, which to be honest, I didn't know before making this video. We see her bashing some zombie heads in to open the second Zombieland movie, which prepares us for the humorous and action-packed sequences we won't be receiving. The Grudge 2 shows Columbia growing greasy black split ends as she transforms into the titular antagonist of the film. Also, if you didn't know this was The Grudge 2, the film gives you a little pre-precaution, just in case you want to leave the cinema with your pants unpissed. And if we travel back a few decades, in 1965 we got a cool gunslinging cartoon version of Jane Fonda from the movie Cat Ballou. I don't know what this actually portrays, but it was a cool transition into my next point. Cartoon movies, or as I like to call them, the all-time MVPs of logo variants. The ooey gooey originality that drips from these variants shouldn't be an oddity, only reserved for films aimed at drooling toddlers. They should be an industry standard. Columbia are a prime example. Films such as Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Hotel Transylvania, Smurfs The Lost Village, and you know what, even the Emoji Movie, they all add a distinctive charm that a bog standard logo just can't replicate. Knowing that an animator went the extra mile to animate a 5-second logo just to bring you a step closer into their world should put a smile on your face. Also, don't even get me started on the Spider-Verse logo. Regardless, Columbia has consistently portrayed that limitations shouldn't restrict a creative mind from wasting screen time, which is interesting for a company that's only really had a focus on animation since 2006. But to be fair, that doesn't really mean shit, because what the Disney? Oh Disney. Oh Disney. Oh Disney. You gave me a sequel to Bambi, but your logo's so lame-o. Okay, so I don't hate the Disney logo, mainly because 1, I'm not Satan, and 2, if I did say that, I'd be crucified. But that doesn't mean I don't have a major problem with it. You see, watching a Disney movie is a bit like walking into one of their parks. You might be 9, you might be 90, that doesn't matter, you're here to see that bloody castle. I don't blame you, to be honest. The fireworks, the music, the magic. It's an unforgettable experience no matter what age you go. But then you go a second time and you could literally give two f***s. The Magic Kingdom, I've got to go on Splash Mountain and get a picture with Max from Goofy Movie before the Jungle Book parade starts. I don't have time for this shit. All that said, the beauty of the actual Magic Kingdom is that it doesn't just stay the exact same. They spruce it up for different seasons of the year, and they go f***ing hard. You like Halloween? Well, strap up because we're going f***ing spooky. You like Christmas? Well, ho ho ho, we're going f***ing icy up in this bitch. Do you like Stitch? Well, he isn't like you, so piss off. Do you like whatever this is? No? Good. Because to be honest, neither did most people. My point being is that, although the castle's the first thing you see when you enter the park, these lovely revamps will always have you visiting this part of the park, regardless of how many times you visited. Now, when it comes to the movies, I thought Disney would have a similar shtick. You know, take the castle, add a little bit of spice to suit the film it's fronting. And that's sort of true. There have been some interesting variants released by Disney under this current logo. However, there hasn't been as many as there were prior to the logo revamp in 2006. There were so many creative designs at one point. Tarzan, Lilo and Stitch, Atlantis, that weird Madagascar ripoff that I chose to watch over the animated Curious George movie and still regret to this day. But after the revamp, Disney kind of just threw in the towel, instead opting for possibly the laziest variant choice within the entire film industry, the colour tint. I mean, even if it hadn't been done before, and people did think it was the most interesting thing in the world, it still kind of looks just a bit gross. Let's use Paramount as an example. I edited together my own little opener for a film I was thinking about making about 2 years ago now. It's about a good looking womanizer who gets in over his head, and because lust is a big part of the film, I thought, you know what, let's throw a pink filter over the logo and call it a day. Now, isn't this just the biggest eyesore you've ever seen in your life, with no inkling of creativity in there? Good. I'm glad you agree. And by the way, I lied. I didn't edit this. This is the opening to Jude Law's Alfie remake. Disney seems to do this consistently. Either turn the logo black and white, red, blue, darker shade of blue. And considering one of the titular songs in the Disney library is A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes, which, if you didn't know, is famously sung by Raven Simone, there doesn't seem to be a lot of heart in making the viewer experience very special. As I mentioned earlier, brand recognition was the key to selling your film. Knowing that a studio had placed their name on a product meant that what you were viewing was of a high quality. This was the exact business practice of Warner Brothers, as they would literally just slap their logo onto the front of each film. And I don't even mean before the film, I mean while the camera is still rolling. They knew what they were doing. The Warner Shield had been associated with a large number of successful gangster films and similar films of that nature, while logos such as the MGM Lion were associated with glamorous spectacles and blockbusters such as Tarzan the Ape Man, Tarzan Triumphs, Tarzan Finds a Son, Tarzan's New York Adventure, Tarzan Escapes from New York, and who can forget Tarzan and his mate. And you know what? Good for him. Regardless, throughout both the 60s and 70s, Warner decided to ditch the original Shield in favour of a logo that would look more modern. And by modern, they mean disgusting and it's alright. You may recognise this one on the right due to its appearance in films such as Joker and Argo. Reusing old logos is a trend used by most studios to convey one of two things to the audience. Either you're trying to convey that the film is set during this period of time, or you're trying to convey that this film is reminiscent of films that were released around this certain period of time. To be honest, it's a decent trope, but it's just diluted by how many times it's been used within the film industry, with it being used within the above films, just to name a few. In 1985, Warner brought back the original Shield, which allowed for two of my favourite variants to come to light. The first being Follow That Bird, and the second being Nightmare Incarnate, aka Gremlins 2. Both variants oozed with compassion and love towards the original source material, while also being able to give a teaser to what is to be expected towards the rest of the film. Follow That Bird does this by recreating the ad break segment from Sesame Street, which involves Big Bird exclaiming that the film was brought to you by the letters W and B, before the letters merge to create the titular Warner logo. Gremlins 2 does this by being completely irrelevant and making absolutely no sense.
Stop the music! Meh. What's up, Duck?
By 1998, Warner had changed their logo again to possibly their most iconic. We have a close-up pan of the Warner shield as the reflection of their Burbank studio glimmers from the side, all accompanied by a brilliant redux to their fanfare. This logo change is shown to be an improvement for Warner, as the number of variants have shown to increase to this day. While I must admit that the quality of some of the logos do vary, some looking like extravagant set pieces while others look like default text settings in Final Cut. That doesn't matter. Warner still strives to keep your expectations high, even if sometimes they don't really meet the mark. Last, but definitely not least, we have the one and only 20th Century. If I had to award the company that provided the best logo variants in the entire industry, it would hands down go to 20th Century Fox. Now when I say this, I don't mean that the logos are the best visually, although there are a few contenders that may say otherwise. I am judging this completely on their ability to suitably modify their fanfare. Now I've mentioned fanfares a couple times in this video, and that's because a fanfare is possibly the most important aspect of a company's recognition when producing a picture. If you ask someone, hey, do you know the 20th Century Fox logo? They aren't going to say, oh, you mean the big statue with the spotlights flashing around it? 9 times out of 10, they're going to do the following. Oh, you mean Stop! The fanfares of these companies are just as engraved into our heads as the logos are, meaning that we hear the first few notes of the theme and we are automatically filled with nostalgia to film view into the past. However, on the odd occasion, studios decide to abandon the traditional fanfare in favour of choosing a more suitable alternative to accompany the film. One example of this would be just a basic score or a song from the soundtrack, which, to be honest, as much as I love listening to Kids in America by the Muffs, it's just not who I want running the country, okay? Possibly the best alternative would be the fanfare redux, a complete re-recording of the original fanfare that changes in accordance to the film it's fronting. I think that these are the pinnacle to a great logo variant, and it's not just some dude from the VFX team having a field day, it's a whole orchestra of talented musicians, writers and artists ganging together to make the familiar sound not only fresh, but exciting and memorable. And on that note, I will conclude with a montage of some of my favourite fanfare variants that 20th Century Fox have happily graced us with. Now, some of you might be thinking, does any of this have any sort of effect on the overall quality of the film? And the answer is simple. No. Logo variants can't really have an effect on the overall quality of a film, because to be honest, good variants can still lead into bad films, the same way that good films can be fronted by a lazy variant. It's like I said earlier, logo variants are just advertisements for films you're about to see, meaning that, just like advertisements, variants can be misleading. Still, although they may not have an effect on the quality of the film, they do seem to leave a long-lasting effect on your overall experience with the film. The charm of a variant isn't just to make something flashy just to avert the audience's attention, it's to show how much effort you're willing to place into such a minuscule detail. The same could be said for the ending credits of a film, another commonly overlooked aspect of filmmaking that has been gifted with a handful of incredible sequences that make you sit down in your seat and appreciate the people who brought this production together. If I had to put it in Leighton's terms, Scorsese says it the best.
Basically, you gotta, otherwise, it's just, there, oh God, you take myself too, the word is seriously, I guess, but you know what, the damn thing is, you gotta be serious about making a picture.
And if you want to doubt the man who made Goodfellas, that's your problem. But honestly, if you are serious about making a picture, then the littlest details shouldn't be regarded as just that. They should be taken as seriously as aspects such as the narrative or even the cinematography. Although they may not all be perfect, we should still give appreciation to the filmmakers who want to invest us in their world just that little bit more.